I think that's a struggle I think a lot of people have in general, is that they go to this analytical, well, let me think about it, state of being. Like, but the problem with thinking about it is that thinking is not inspiring. Emotion is inspiring. I will tell you, I struggled for a really long time, and I still go through these types of exercises to make sure I'm aligned appropriately. Of like, why am I so uninspired? Right? Like, I and where and where is this first? Where's this drive for me to do the thing I want to do, and why does it feel like it's work to figure out the vision? Like, it shouldn't be work. You know what I mean? Like, it should just flow, because this is the thing, right? This is, I get up in the morning, I'm thinking about this. I go to bed, I think about this. This is my obsession. If this is my obsession, then why do I feel so uninspired? And
is that something that you contend with?
oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
And there's a I can't remember the guy that said, some famous author like like Gladwell or somebody, right? I talked about writing is the exhale of reading. Now that was interesting, right? That you gotta do one to be able to do the other. And recently on Barksdale, I did a seminar, sort of, right? They asked me to come speak to the top three, right? So I went to the top three meeting. First thing was interesting. I was like, wow, these guys are getting young. They're not young. They're not young. I'm old. And so it's only been a couple of years, which is crazy. But so my little topic for them was talk about the coaching methodology and how they could use it with their people, right? And so I kind of talked a little bit about my story, and I talked about I got really big outline of the coaching methodology that I use, and why it's effective, and how they could deploy it. Da da da. Well, afterwards, I stayed for another hour and a half, just talking to people, right, about their like things that they want to do, and this, that, and another thing. I found that moment when I was doing that and serving in that capacity, for me, inspiring.
Just talking to him.
Yeah. And just doing the whole thing, right? Like that speech, the speech I did, I kind of outlined like some bullet points just to give me a track, but it free flowed from me. Like it came from my talent and my skill of public speaking, right? Which I would say more skill than talent, to be quite honest. Because I'm not very talented in that domain, but I'm highly skilled. And so, but the words flowed out, the rhythm, the cadence, none of it practiced. It just naturally came forth, because this is my obsession, this is my passion. That to me is an interesting, like, subconscious indicator. You know what I mean? Like, we do things subconsciously sometimes, and it's like, oh, well, that's weird. Why did I do it like that? This was like an outconscious indicator of, I should be doing more things like this. Like, when I'm doing this, I feel inspired. When I'm at home in my room, typing on the keyboard, building my business plan, I feel less inspired. But I'm trying to do those exercises in that mode.
Yeah.
Right. So I think, like, the reason why, like, you can't like just go, oh, this is my big hairy audacious goal right off the cuff, is because the state of being in which it was generated. And I think that's a struggle I think a lot of people have in general, is that they go to this analytical, well, let me think about it, state of being. Like, but the problem with thinking about it is that thinking is not inspiring. Emotion is inspiring. And so we got to do things that are emotive. And in those emotive moments, that is when the energy flows. And that's when we're like, this is it. I got to do more of this, whatever this is, you know? So anyway, I think the exercises are useful, right? Because they help open up the mind to the idea,
Mhm.
but I don't think they're as useful as like going, oh, I did it. Like I found I discovered it. Oh, this is what it is. You know what I mean? It's very tight and neat, and let me put that on my LinkedIn page and da da da. And that's just who I am, you know. And then you go back like a week later, like who wrote that? Because it's not like it's a direction. It's sort of like this. Yeah, that's not wrong, but is this really the thing I'm going to dedicate my life to?
Well, I think in
Yeah.
general, people dedicate themselves to the pursuit of finding that thing. Like, so it's a
That's
consistent.
sad.
Well, not really, not really.
Yeah.
Like it because like it in the hero's journey model, you are
Yeah.
consistently in a state of becoming. You never
Right.
become, right? So you're
Right.
constantly okay. This didn't work. You're constantly moving forward,
Mm-hmm.
but adjusting course as you go. Like I don't think there's anything wrong with that, right? You might start with coaching. You might start with this idea of a coaching practice that you want to have, and land on public speaking, land on giving seminars, land
Mm-hmm.
on coaching groups of people, land on coaching one person specifically for the
Mm-hmm.
rest of whatever. Like I don't think there's anything wrong with not having certainty around the end goal. Like the end goal is nice, starting with the end goal in mind is
Mm-hmm.
incredibly useful, but just because you start with the end goal in mind doesn't mean that's where you're going to end up.
Well, you're also talking now about like a tactic versus a vision, like the how versus the end.
And that's also assuming there is an end, right? The end is when you die. The end is when you decide to stop pursuing the professional goals that you have in mind, pursuing the professional cycle that you're engaged in, the cycle of creation and the cycle of having something to offer other people, right?
Well,
That's the cycle.
yeah, no, I agree with that. I'm just saying, like, but I don't think so. Like, let me see if we can get us aligned. I'll tell you this. So, like, even in my own business, I started out with Key Bravo leadership development, broad enough topic, right?
Mhm.
That covers what leadership development. All right. I'm not talking about how in that statement. I'm just talking about like what do you do? Right. I do leadership development. Okay. Well, how do you do leadership development? Well, first part of my brain is like any way possible. And it ends up being right. I'm doing coaching. I'm doing seminars.
Mhm.
I'm doing keynotes, and I'm creating publications. Like I'm creating stuff like a blog, for instance, right? A blog
Mhm.
is a way to serve that same community, right? I'm still doing leadership development. I'm the method, the medium of that, right, is cut up into like basically those ways. And for my own like sanity, I've decided to break that up into sub compartments inside my business,
Mhm.
right? So I have a coaching division, I have a seminar division and keynote division. I put those together, and then I got a publication division type of thing. And if you even look at my LinkedIn, you see separated those out. They're not separate businesses, but they're definitely separate, like major components, major muscle movements within the broader right parent. And if I was bigger, if I had employees of 15 to 45 people, I might even break those, spin them off into their own separate businesses,
Mhm.
type of thing. And that's evolved. Like I thought I wanted to do just coaching, and then I realized that seminars are a great way to do marketing. What I'm a Maxwell guy, so I got material to work from. So let me just start doing it on base, right? So I got to practice on base. I'm now at LCOS, and so it works. And then I just now hired a coach to help me do keynotes. to get keynotes on to get on stage. Because he specializes in that, and that's how he makes his living. He makes his living doing keynotes, and then he makes supplementary income in doing group coaching and one-to-one coaching.
Okay.
Right. So I'm reversed. I make most of my money doing coaching, but I want to supplement and get out there better using keynotes. Right. So it's just methods of madness. And so I hired him to teach me to consult. Right. He's consulting. He says he's not coaching. He's consulting. Right.
Sure.
He's giving me the things to do, the checklists to get into that industry. Right. How many of what do I need to produce and send to where? What's my success rate going to be? Where do you find all these stages at? Like, he has a master list of all these stages. That's worth whatever. That's worth $1,000 right out the bat. I mean, you have a spreadsheet of every single stage throughout the year and when everything is due. Done. Take my money.
Roadmap.
Yeah. Very clear, researched roadmap. Saved me tens of thousands of hours in figuring that out. And that's a great consultant. He says he's coaching. He's not coaching. He's consulting. Right. We know what coaching is. And so I hired him to help me to take that seminar keynote piece of my divisions to the next level, so that I can get on more stages. And in process of getting on more stages, that ties right into the marketing and feeds right into coaching type of thing. So
that makes sense.
Right. That's at the end of the day. But I would not have invested in that if I had not broken it out in my brain and on paper. Because I'm treating them separately, I'm investing them separately as a structure. And that's the journey piece you're talking about, right? Like, well, you start with this idea, and then you start doing things, and you start kind of like molding it into something that works for you. You're like, okay, that makes more sense. And it's an ever evolving creature, right? Because as I level up in my speaking, I get on 15 or 20 stages, and all of a sudden I'm thinking something else. Right. I'm thinking, wow, I'm on these stages. I need online courses now to push people to back of the room products. Right. And I need to develop my publishing piece now to tie whatever. I don't know. I'm just guessing. I'm just kind of going off the traditional thought process. But that isn't the goal. All that is just method. The goal
just steps along the way.
Yeah, the goal is to build more leaders. That's the goal. And to build as many as humanly possible. I can put a number, they can put 1 million leaders on there, you can put 10,000 leaders on there.